Thanks for listening to the Free from Wall Street podcast. We have Eric Upchurch with us today. Eric, thanks a bunch, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
So you run your own podcast, Active Duty Passive Income, right?
Correct. Yeah, I'm not the co-host. Mike Foster, one of the co-founders with me of ADPI, he runs that show.
Cool. So give us a little bit of background, where you came from, what you're doing now, and kind of where you're going.
So grew up in central Iowa, moved out to California for college. Actually, a buddy and I graduated a semester early from high school. I don't know how that happened, crazy as that sounds. We must have. But moved out to California for college, went to culinary school, then went to UC Santa Barbara.
Oh, where'd you go to culinary school?
California Culinary Academy.
Oh, cool. Okay. I have some friends that went to CIA.
Yeah, I was chef for a while, but like a pantry chef, and just realized making $8 an hour, slaving away in the back end of a restaurant. Meanwhile, I was managing a coffee shop making $13.50 an hour. I was going, something's wrong with this. I just went to culinary school. Why am I not making more money? And the waiters, it was a restaurant with 12 tables, and the waiters were making, $500 a night. It's nuts. So anyway, went to college, joined the military. I was in special operations, aviation regiment, my entire military career. And so I actually chose to be an enlisted guy after college instead of becoming an officer, because I've always kind of known that I like to influence people who may have growing skill sets and maybe not have as much life skills as me, or life knowledge as me, or experience as me. So I really wanted to go in there and manage people. I've always been a manager of people since I was 12 years old, working in the cornfields of Iowa. So following that, I knew I could go change some lives as a senior, a guy with a little bit more experience managing some younger enlisted guys. So had a lot of success with that. And then bought a house with a VA loan in 2006. Great time to buy a house, right? A new construction house. Nobody teaching me that, hey, that this house, you should probably buy it as an investment property with that mindset, which is now what we're doing on a national scale. So that turned out to be a rental, barely cash flowing. I think I was making on a good month, $80 net positive cash flow, which is better than nothing. But something sparked, when I got out of the military, something sparked in me like, okay, well, so first of all, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then I looked at my asset in Georgia, and I was like, okay, so could I duplicate that and actually make more cash flow? It seems like Robert Kiyosaki has done that. So, can I do that?
Yeah.
So then I started going to some seminars and conferences and reading more and Think and Grow Rich and mindset stuff. And I looked at my wife and I was like, there's something to this. Let's go in. Let's figure out a way to make this work. We're back in the San Francisco Bay Area where, and this is say 2012 now, we bought a house with zero down. The cheapest house we could find at the time was $500,000, and it was an attached unit. But it was a gorgeous house. It had all the bells and whistles, and it was in a great community. But 2 years later, that property was worth $690,000. So we sold that property and kind of looked at each other like, what did we just do there? Hey, some market appreciation. We just capitalized on a great thing there. So now we did that 2 more times with intention in the Bay Area but we added some forced appreciation in there and some market appreciation. All of this is kind of, I'm shortening this down, but I like to call this our capital building phase, where we were kind of hopping around, kids in tow, and just building wealth through real estate investing the best way we knew how in the San Francisco Bay Area, as we were able to kind of ride the market up. So that led us into investing in our first limited partnership deal. I'm currently in 575 doors on the LP side and 571 doors on the GP side. So
sweet.
It's all blown up since then. So it's been great.
Yeah. It changes rapidly, right?
It does. Yeah. That 571 doors was just in 2019. So my first full year of multifamily investing.
Awesome. Yeah. It's exciting stuff, man. So I think what we touched on right before the show started is an important place to start when you're talking about all this. And it's, mindset, understanding that it can be done, thinking a little bit differently, but making sure that it's rooted and the foundation is in your why. So talk to us a little bit about that, and how those things are connected and what you've seen, what your experience has been in terms of like how to apply that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this topic because if you're going to get into, if it's real estate investing, that's great. Whatever you're going to get into, you can be a success at it if you have a deep rooted why. And I ask a lot of people, what's your why? And kind of the default answer is they'll show a picture of their kids and they'll say, this is my family. And and that's great because that is motivating. And I have 2 boys and a wife. And so that can definitely motivate you. But I would urge you to go one step deeper, maybe 7 layers deep. Why is that your why? Why is that important to you that you support your family? Why is that financial freedom for your family important to you? And then maybe the answer is, well, because I didn't have that growing up. Okay, well, why didn't you have that growing up? And why do you want to change lives? And why? So really get deep rooted with it. So I've done that, and I've found very simply that my deep rooted why is I do all of these things for the memory and pride of those who've gone before me, for they love to fight, fought to win, and would rather die than quit. We buried a lot of guys in our unit, and I was the burial detail NCOIC, so I had to go to their hometowns and do all that whole thing. So to me, pain and challenge is a privilege that we have while we're breathing. So I do these things, like right now I'm training for a half Ironman. Never done a triathlon before. But I'm willing and eager to do these things because if I feel that struggle, even with just the training leading up to it, my comrades can no longer feel that pain. They can no longer feel that joy of finishing the race. So I'm going to do that, but I'm also finishing the race for them on the giving front, on education front, and just that's what gets me out of bed. Couple that with my personality of loving the mission of educating people, mentoring people, real estate, couple that all together. I'm in the right place at the right time in my life. I found my purpose and mission in life is to educate, empower, and to help people grow. And this all together with real estate is really the binding agent that gets my butt up out of bed every morning, excited to do this, excited to help more people. Got 2 more coaching calls that I'm offering for free to people today, just because I like them. I've seen their story and I'm really excited to help them out and see them progress. So have that deep rooted why, no matter what you're investing in or what you're doing, and you'll be a success because you'll never quit.
Yeah. What I love about what you just said is it's not as simple as saying, well, this is what I like, right? This is what I love. This is the thing that I want to support, like our family. It's an easy answer, but you're right. When you start to dig deeper, right, and say, well, why is that? Why is this? Why is that? And you're really digging towards purpose. It takes a lot of self-discovery and time. I mean, this isn't something that you could sit in your office in 20 minutes and come up with your purpose for being on the earth. Yeah. But it is doable. And I think if you do the hard work to dig through your own psyche, your own soul, and figure out why you were put on this planet, when those 2 things combine and they intersect, it's a beautiful thing.
Oh, right? It's very powerful. Yeah.
I mean, you feel like the Kool-Aid guy, right? You're busting through walls. Oh yeah. I mean, and that's how I feel when I wake up. And I think it's such a blessing to be able to do that. Yeah. But it takes work and effort to get there, right? It takes getting around the right people, reading the right books, getting people around with the same mission and saying, yeah, this is our mission orientation. So, great on you for doing the work and for, doing what you're doing and for the why that you're doing it. It's an incredible purpose. We spoke a little bit back and forth about some of the giving that you're doing too, in terms of like, we run another radio show called Finding Success, and almost exclusively across the board, what people are talking about when they describe success, it's never monetary. It's usually the why, it's usually the purpose orientation, and it's usually the giving, right? Because we typically want to move from success to significance, right? So, I mean, owning nearly 1,000 doors of multifamily that's cash flowing for you is great, but what does it allow you to do? So let's talk a little bit about the giving aspect of what you guys are doing, because that's an exciting project too.
This is the most important piece. if you have, you must give. Living is giving. I mean, there's so many things out there that make a ton of sense. And I'll just put it out there this way. If you're intentional about giving and about your why and what the end result is, it should be centered around helping other people. We live in the greatest country on earth, hands down. We have the most freedom to do whatever we want. Anybody can be a success. Less than 2 years ago, like 23 months ago, I didn't even know people like us could buy apartment complexes. And here I am now buying apartment complexes and mobile homes all over the country. So what I do, I'll just tear this off my vision board. This is really important. Annually, so I'm looking at this over and over and over again every day. Give $1 million a year is my target. How am I going to do that? I don't know. That doesn't matter though. What matters is that my intention is to give away $1 million a year. And through that, I believe that energy can manifest itself. As long as I match my frequency with that intention, that's going to happen. I'm looking at my kids. My kids got me this fake $1 million bill because they know how intentional it is to kind of ingrain that in your mind and in your head. So my goal is to give away, my long-term goal is to give away $1 million a year to charities, veteran charities. In December, I was keynote speaking at a meetup in Kansas City, and I had set the goal there to donate a house to a homeless veteran. Didn't know how I was going to do it. Didn't know, where the money was going to come from. Didn't know any of that stuff. About 2 weeks later, I connected with a Veterans Community Project that is my charity of choice now. They're building tiny homes they had a 50 tiny home community built in Kansas City, all private, nonprofit, private equity, nonprofit. And there's 240 square foot homes. They're housing veterans for up to 2 years, 1 day. They know now, after building that first successful community out, that if a veteran has stable housing for 18 months, which they can provide, their chances of staying in a home for the rest of their lives is 95%.
Wow.
Couple that with our #1 best-selling book that we wrote, which teaches people, how to use a VA loan. It's called Military House Hacking. Couple that with a VA loan that they've earned the right to use. They can buy a property, or they can rent an apartment. That's great too, but they could buy a property with no money out of pocket as long as they have credit. And the Veterans Community Project builds a 5,000 square foot community center on the properties as well, so they can get credit repair services, vocational rehab, dentist work, haircuts, whatever they need. So it's an amazing thing. Their next community is Longmont, Colorado, just north of Denver, which we're raising right now for. We've raised 16,000 of 35,000 that we need to build one of those houses there. And it's changing lives. It's saving lives. And now they've been featured on CNN, NBC. 3,000 communities across the U.S. have reached out to Veterans Community Project to implement their process. Wow. Because it's been so successful. That's so amazing. I'm really honored to be a part of that. And I really look forward to seeing where that goes. Then, another thing is Bill Allen is putting together Veterans REI Live, which is the first ever military real estate conference for veterans. It's going to be 23 speakers, I think, kind of first day active investing type of categories, second day passive investing categories. I'll be speaking on military house hacking. And all proceeds are going to go to veteran charities such as Veterans Community Project and many others. So
that's awesome.
Really cool opportunity in St. Louis.
Yeah, man. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to listen to this podcast and not hear Bill Allen's name come up at some point.
Yeah.
This guy
amazing guy.
One of my first published Forbes articles was about mentorship, and it was specifically about, following in the tracks of him when we started our wholesale business. Yeah. And now we've gone from wholesaling to flipping to large, syndications as well.
Yeah.
So
amazing guy.
Yeah. And he has a lot of energy. So it's veteranslive.com, right? For people to find the information. It's going to be in St. Louis. What are those dates again?
May 29 and 30.
Cool. So go to veteranslive.com, get your tickets. What I love about this is that you guys are taking what has changed your life, opening up to other service members and saying, hey, you can do this too. It's like, everybody hears about the 4-minute mile. Nobody thought that they could break a 4-minute mile, and then it happened, and it happened again and again and again. It's really just mindset, right? It's a shift to see other people doing it. You're a service member. You've done it. It can change your life. Taking control of your financial future is what we need to educate people about, that they don't need to be beholden to the stock market. Today's March 13th, and we have had a roller coaster 10 days. The market's up today, a couple hundred points. And what I don't rail against is necessarily the market's always bad. What I rail against on the show, Free from Wall Street, is that it's volatile. And what you can't predict, you can't plan. So when you're talking about planning for retirement, hope is not a strategy. And we just hammer this, that at least a portion of your portfolio should be in something that is stable and predictable, right? I mean, your apartment complexes, in 17 days, rent will be due regardless of what coronavirus is doing, right? Yep. So, it's something that we need to let people know. It's out there. It's available. You can take care of your own family, your own financial future, your own giving, your own purpose. Nobody else is going to do it. Warren Buffett famously says it's the only place in the world where somebody will drive their Rolls Royce to take advice from somebody that took the subway in is Wall Street. I mean, the problem is that people are taking investment advice from salespeople, right? So, I mean, a salesperson is going to get paid off of selling you a product. They're not investors. So get in a room like this at Veterans Live, listen to your podcast like that, and start taking advice from people that are investors, because those are the ones that are actually changing their own futures and have some value to offer to the audiences that are listening.
Yeah, I'll give you a great example of that also. So I teach a financial foundations course in my company. I still have a full-time W-2 job in sales as well. And so I'm known as the guy who kind of knows about investing at our company. So I volunteered my time to kind of just Dave Ramsey breakdown 101 for people who are new to the company or young people out of college or whatever.
Sure.
But so every year we have this annual get together with Edward Jones and American Funds, and they come and they do their spiel. And I'm the guy sitting in the back of the room going,
don't do it.
Okay. So they're pitching their, 20-40 target funds and, things that whenever you're ready to just plug it in here and we'll monitor it once a year and no. So I went up to him and I said, actually, no, not even up to him. I raised my hand in the back of the room and I said, so where's your index fund? And they said, well, we don't offer an index fund right now. And come to find out, and I'm not an expert in this. I just know that S&P index is going to be more valuable to the people at my company investing long-term than the target date funds that they set and forget and quote unquote evaluate and change as needed and whatever.
Sure.
So now they offer an S&P index fund at my company, but only because I brought that up. They don't make as much money on it probably. So they didn't offer it. But I just thought that was an interesting kind of correlation that, when you're talking about salesmen doing what they got to do, I don't blame them because their company is telling them to sell certain funds.
That's right. I mean, you can't call Fidelity and say, hey, I want to invest into this apartment complex. And the reason is because they don't know how to capitalize on it, right? They know how to capitalize on annuities now recently. And some of these different funds because they get paid fees off of it, which is fine, right? But you just have to have your eyes wide open when walking into these things and saying, hey, if I'm going to invest in this, I know what it is that I'm investing in. And I'm not just going to turn my hard-earned money over to somebody that is going to basically put it on an algorithmic trading system, right? Where, I mean, the market's tanking because a lot of these Edward Jones and Fidelity brokers have things set up on algorithms to once they hit a certain threshold, it dumps all its shares of that. So that's actually producing even a worse outcome in the market. I'm not an expert in this either, right? I don't have anything in the stock market anymore. I saw my dad lose half of his wealth in 2008, and then he passed away. He wasn't able to ride the market back up. Like, this is not a unique story by any means. If you're close to retirement or, God forbid you lose your life in that time frame before the market gets to ride back up, you pass significantly less money down to your kids, right? So just go in, eyes wide open, understand that financial education is not a dirty word, right? Money is not taboo. We just filmed a YouTube video with my daughter. She's 6 about how to make your kids millionaires and when that will happen based on what we're investing into. And just be able to take control of your financial future. So I love what you guys are doing, because you're getting people out there listening to what you're doing and saying, oh, hey, this is the 4-minute mile for me. I can do this. I can change my life. I can take control of my financial future. So
yeah,
that's great stuff.
we've really taken, so active duty passive income is obviously a play on words, but
Sure.
we're serving veterans as well. It's not all just active duty members, but because we created an amazing community first, and our grand vision is to help 1 million veterans and active duty service members find financial freedom through real estate investing. And we're able to do that now because we built a community really before a product. Now we have the number one best-selling book, and we have education courses specific to military and what their unique abilities are. But we now have the first ever employee-owned stock option mortgage branch nationwide, where the loan officers own the branch as well. We have a commercial division now. We have an insurance company for whole and term life. So it's growing. We have we have 25 meetups nationwide. We have a group of real estate agents that we're training how to teach veterans how to buy like an investment instead of a primary residence. That's changing the face of how veterans look at real estate, because we move every 2 to 3 years. Actually, now even one to 3 years.
Right.
And if you can buy a fourplex with no money down, and you move in a year and refinance that into a conventional loan, or 2 years, whatever it is,
Yep.
whatever that makes the numbers work, you're buying fourplexes across the US with no money out of pocket, and just at every duty station that you go to. And that's what our book is about, but that's what our whole mission is. And it's just amazing to see our financial services division and just all these amazing things happen to do better, cheaper things for veterans that are just not previously taught. I mean, the military is great at teaching war fighters, how to fight wars, but they're not great at the financial education piece. And that's where we come in, and we're passionate about it because we've been there. We're all veterans and active duty. So,
well, and to your point, I mean, can't even blame the military for that. Colleges don't do this. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I went to Boston University, and I didn't come out knowing any of this stuff either. So, I think the financial education piece is really a missing component across the board. Right. So I love the fact that you guys are on a mission to create some wealthy warriors.
Yeah.
We support that mission. We're really excited about what you guys are doing. And, a piece of what we're doing is the invest with purpose piece. So we carve out a piece of equity into every large scale commercial project that we do for a nonprofit. And we'll chat off air about how we're looking to do that in the future and what partnership opportunities lie in. The deals that we were able to accomplish in 2019, the equity that we were able to give away will create $1 million in passive income for those nonprofits over the next 5 years. And we expect that to continue on and on and on.
Good for you.
So,
that's so awesome.
Through these deals, right, the ability to give abundantly comes through these types of deals that we're doing. So, $75 million in acquisitions last year, targeting $100 million this year. And it's been a real hockey stick, and it's all due to the mentors that we have in our lives and opening our eyes, the fact that we can do what we're doing.
Absolutely.
You
must have a hell of a team behind you too.
Of course. Yep. And that team continues to grow, and we'll be on a plane on Monday looking at 217 units that we're under contract on, and everybody's converging down there. We'll walk all these units, and it's exciting. And you don't have to do 150 transactions a year either to make the type of money.
Exactly. Yeah. I learned that about the single family. We did, my buddy and I did like seven flips, or, Burr properties, buy and hold. And then I saw the multifamily. I went to a multifamily conference, and I was just like, wait a minute, there's this whole other world. Like, I don't need to, these refinances are killing me. And I can buy 100 doors at a time.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And what's amazing is it took me 10 years to have that aha moment. I don't know how long it took you, but
I got thrown into it by accident almost. So
I love that. Yeah. I mean, we look back now, and of course it was beneficial for us to go through that, flipping 1,000 houses before we started buying large scale multifamily. It gave us a lot of credibility.
Oh, absolutely.
But I'll tell you, the comparison, there is no comparison in terms of how active and how highly taxed those types of jobs are versus how passive and how tax free these types of deals
Oh,
are,
yeah.
right? I mean, if you read Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright, who's
Yeah.
Kiyosaki's CPA, I mean,
Yeah.
it's brilliant stuff. And understanding how the wealthy stay wealthy is by playing within the confines of what the government teaches you to do through the tax code. I think people used to be afraid of the IRS, and maybe most people still are. I was at one point, and now I'm reading the tax code as if it's a playbook. How do I not pay taxes? And the government tells you how to not do that. So commercial real estate, oil and gas wells, those are the places to be able to take advantage of those tax benefits. We have a lot of active and former duty guys that have invested with us, and they've been able to roll their TSPs over into these
Yep.
deals and self-direct those types
Absolutely.
of things. I mean, so
Yep.
there's a lot of opportunity, and so anyway, we can go on forever about all this stuff, but thank you so much for sharing your story, Eric. Anything,
Absolutely.
how can people find you online? I know obviously Active Duty Passive Income Podcast is one way to listen to some more of your story, but where can people
Yeah.
find you?
Yeah. So activedutypassiveincome.com. Obviously, if you're a military member, our Facebook group's approaching 10,000. We're adding about 1,000 members a month at this point. So growing community there. You can find me on Facebook for sure. Just look up Eric Upchurch and my smiling face will be on there. And then Real Eric Upchurch on Instagram.
Awesome, man. So one more time, it's veteranslive.com in St. Louis in just a couple of months. Make sure you check that out. And definitely reach out to Eric if you can help him with a lot of his missions, right? A lot of giving, a lot of opportunities. There's no shortage of need.
Yeah.
Let's fulfill some of that. And we appreciate having you on the Free from Wall Street podcast, man. Really appreciate
Really
you.
glad to be here. Love what you're doing.
Cool, man. Appreciate
Thanks.
you.